Giant robotic tripods could be vaporizing New Jersey. Democrats would point out how the death lasers were disproportionately affecting low-income communities and people of color, and AOC would tweet, "Stop demonizing the Martian X community."
Lastly, but certainly not least, as we ring out in the refrain that is said among people across the world and Puerto Ricans across the world, yo sí soy boricua.
This was not your typical late-night debate. This was a takedown. Bill Maher, known for cutting through political theater with brutal honesty, turned his sights on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and what unfolded was nothing short of explosive. On live TV, in front of millions, Maher didn't dance around the issues. He called them out directly.
Who do you see on the horizon for 2028 in the Democratic primary?
Right now?
Yeah.
Bernie and AOC.
No.
They got the biggest crowds.
That doesn't matter.
It won't sustain itself, but right now they have no leader. Okay? But this is the thing the Republican Party has to understand, too. Both parties lost in the last election.
He questioned AOC's so-called progressive stances, highlighting the hypocrisy between her public image and her actual record. Maher asked the questions many have been whispering. If she claims to fight for the working class, why are her policies often wrapped in elitist rhetoric? If she's all about transparency, why does she dodge accountability when her promises don't match her results? The cameras caught it all. AOC visibly uncomfortable, scrambling to defend herself, and then lashing out in frustration. What Maher did, and did brutally, was hold up a mirror, exposing what he called her true colors. And the fallout was immediate. The audience gasped, some cheered, social media lit up with clips of the exchange. People saying this was the first time they'd seen AOC cornered without a way out. Bill Maher didn't let up, pressing her again and again, making it impossible for her to retreat into slogans or buzzwords. This wasn't just a heated exchange. This was a collapse of composure, a breakdown in real time. AOC's carefully crafted image of poise and power cracked under the weight of Maher's relentless truth bombs. And here's the kicker. Maher didn't do it with rage. He did it with calm precision, every point cutting sharper than the last, until AOC had nowhere to hide.
The country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid.
What made this exchange so devastating for AOC wasn't just Bill Maher's criticism. It was the way he dismantled her arguments piece by piece, calmly, methodically, with no theatrics, just facts. He called out the disconnect between her rhetoric and reality, pointing to how her constant claims of fighting for everyday Americans often don't match the outcomes of the policy she supports. And the more Maher pressed, the more cracks began to show. AOC, usually quick with a sharp comeback or a passionate slogan, was caught off guard, fumbling through responses, repeating herself, and eventually raising her voice in frustration. This wasn't the confident, charismatic figure her supporters are used to seeing. This was someone cornered, defensive, and unraveling on live television. Maher zeroed in on the issues that strike at the heart of her credibility. The elitism hiding behind progressive branding, the contradictions between her words and her actions, the slogans that don't hold up when challenged by hard questions. And with every calmly delivered critique, the room grew tenser. The audience, too, wasn't fully on her side. When Maher pointed out that slogans like tax the rich sound good until they backfire on middle-class Americans, there were audible murmurs of agreement. When he reminded viewers that leadership requires results, not just social media posts, applause followed. That was the moment AOC visibly stiffened, realizing the crowd wasn't automatically rallying behind her. And here's where it hit hardest. Maher didn't need to yell, didn't need to insult, didn't even need to posture.
Last week, an 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico, which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stop seeing your candidate as their lawyer.
She just stayed calm, patient, unflinching, while AOC spiraled into defensiveness. It created the starkest contrast possible: reason versus emotion, logic versus outrage. By the end, what viewers saw wasn't the image AOC has worked so hard to project, a bold, unshakable leader. Instead, they saw someone rattled, reactive, and losing control. Clips of the exchange quickly spread across social media, with many saying this was the first time they'd seen her truly exposed, her true colors revealed under pressure. And the conclusion people drew was unmistakable. AOC's brand relies heavily on controlling the narrative, but when faced with someone unwilling to play by her script, the narrative crumbles. Bill Maher showed that calm, relentless questioning can be more devastating than any shouting match, and AOC's breakdown was the proof. So while her teammate tried to spin this as just another tough debate, the damage is done. The optics of this meltdown will linger because people don't forget when an image cracks this badly, especially when it happens live, in front of millions, with no chance to edit, no chance to walk it back. And that's the part Maher seemed to understand perfectly. By staying cool while she unraveled, he didn't just win the exchange. He completely shifted the perception of who really holds the power in these debates. This wasn't just a clash, this was a turning point, and one AOC won't be able to easily recover from.
What do you think of the fact that the people who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders? They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. No, I'm kidding. Okay, but I feel like, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase. It's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans.
Now let's talk about the aftermath, because moments like this don't just fade away, they leave ripples, they shift the way people think, and they start conversations that can't easily be shut down. Bill Maher versus AOC wasn't just a clash of personalities, it was a test of ideas, and what people saw was a clear divide between substance and slogans, between someone grounded in real-world logic and someone clinging to talking points that crumble under pressure. In the days that followed, clips of the exchange went viral. Social media lit up, not with AOC's usual fanfare of cheering fans, but with criticism, memes, and endless replays of her meltdown. Hashtags mocking her response trended, commentators weighed in, and even people who don't usually pay attention to politics were suddenly talking about how exposed she looked on live television. And here's...
But, there is a little, I understand a little I told you so from the people on the border.
I'm from Texas. I actually think it's a little bit even worse than what you're saying, because not only were they saying, we're sanctuary cities, we provide housing to everyone, we'll guarantee health care and education, but definitely don't come here. But they were also saying, if you're in Texas and don't want that, you're racist, you're a bad person. And now that they're having just the smallest fraction, there were 2 million border crossings last year. New York, which is by far the largest number, has 110,000.
It's the thing. Perception is everything in politics. AOC has built her brand on being untouchable, sharp, always one step ahead of her critics. But Maher's calm dismantling chipped away at that image. Viewers weren't just questioning her answers. They were questioning her composure, her authenticity, and whether she's as strong a voice as she claims to be. Meanwhile, Bill Maher walked away from the moment stronger. He didn't need to shout, didn't need a grandstand. His weapon was patience, persistence, and truth delivered without apology.
The message to you was, I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my backyard. Every month I see a new poll reporting how much Latinos despise the woke term Latinx. It's about as popular with them as a reboot of Speedy Gonzales.
And that contrast is why the exchange hit so hard. It wasn't a screaming match, it was a reality check, and one that AOC wasn't prepared for. But beyond the drama of the moment, there's a bigger issue at play. This clash highlights a growing fatigue with performative politics, The kind where leaders build their entire image around viral sound bites instead of real solutions. Voters are waking up to it. People are starting to demand more than just flashy words. And AOC's breakdown is being held up as Exhibit A of why empty slogans don't work anymore. And let's be real, AOC's defenders will spin this. They'll say Maher was unfair. They'll say the questions were biased. They'll say the audience wasn't on her side. But none of that changes the raw footage. None of that erases the fact that when the pressure was on, she cracked. And that's something her critics will never let her forget. This is where the conversation turns.
The thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great. The Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids. So talk to your children and remind them you don't really want to live like your heroes in Hamas. All the you do all day, it was all made in America.
Because if moments like this keep happening, if leaders like AOC continue to stumble when faced with real, unscripted challenges, then the public is going to start looking elsewhere for leadership. They'll look for the ones who don't crack under pressure, who can back up their words with facts, who can stand their ground without collapsing into shouting matches. And that's the brutal reality here. AOC's image of strength was shattered in that exchange. And while she'll keep fighting to rebuild it, the internet never forgets. Clips of her meltdown will resurface every time she tries to take the moral high ground. Every time she tries to paint herself as the voice of reason. People will remember the night she lost her cool against a calm Bill Maher. So what's next? For Bill Maher, this moment cements his role as one of the few voices willing to challenge the political left from within, someone unafraid to call out hypocrisy, even when it comes from their own side. For AOC, it's a wake-up call, adapt, sharpen up, or risk being exposed again, because the spotlight doesn't dim, and her critics won't give her a second of breathing room. And for the public, this was more than just entertainment. It was a reminder of what happens when political branding collides with raw reality. No filters, no editing, no spin, just truth versus talking points, and in this case, the truth won. So when we look back at this exchange, it won't just be remembered as a fiery debate. It will be remembered as the moment AOC's true colors came out, and the moment Bill Maher showed just how powerful calm, unrelenting honesty can be. And that's why this wasn't just a breakdown, it was a turning point, one that could change the way people see both of them for years to come.